Kayla lived in the shadows of the city, not because she had done anything wrong, but because that's where she felt safe. On the planet Ilaris, the human colony was divided into two parts: the shiny, bright upper city with towers that touched, the sky and the lower domes where the lights flickered and the air always smelled of oil and metal. Kayla was 17. She worked as an assistant technician with her uncle, fixing broken machines, cleaning fuel lines, and making sure the power grid didn't fail. Her hands were always covered in grease and her hair was always tied back. She didn't care much for appearance, not because she wasn't curious, but because she believed she was too ugly to bother. When Kayla was a child, a fire broke out in their living pod. Her parents had died saving her. She had survived with burn marks on her neck and face. Her left cheek had a long scar that never faded. People didn't look at her the same after that. Some turned away. Some whispered. Some just stared too long. Eventually, Kayla stopped going to school in the upper city and stayed in the repair shops underground. But she was smart. Very smart. Kayla could fix things no one else could. She built machines from spare parts and old junk. When no one was around, she worked on a secret project, a mech suit. Not for war, but for exploration. She dreamed of stepping outside the colony dome, into the wild and dangerous lands of Ilaris. Her mech, if finished, could survive storms, cross rivers, and even send messages back to the dome. But no one knew about it, just like no one really knew her. One morning, her uncle burst into their small workshop with wide eyes. "Kayla," he said, wiping sweat from his forehead, "you won't believe this. Viraxi are coming here." Kayla dropped her wrench. "Viraxi? Here?" "Yes. A real alien delegation. The council asked for volunteers to help during the visit. Maintenance teams, translators, power staff. I signed you up for systems support, Yeli. Wanted to protest but didn't. She always did what was asked. I'll stay in the control room, right? Behind the glass?" Her uncle nodded. "Don't worry, you won't have to meet anyone face to face." Kayla nodded, relieved. She didn't want aliens staring at her the way humans did. The next day, she entered the control room before sunrise. The glass windows showed the main hall where the Viraxi would arrive. Everything was shiny and clean. Flags of Earth and Viraxi symbols hung side by side. Kayla sat at the back, checking the lights, doors, and energy levels. At exactly noon, the Viraxi ship landed. It looked like a floating flower made of metal. When the doors opened, a group of tall beings stepped out. They were thin, with long arms, soft green skin, and wide silver eyes. They didn't wear clothes like humans, just smooth layers of living, fabric that moved like water. Kayla watched quietly as the visitors greeted the human officials. She adjusted lights and changed temperature settings when asked. Everything went smoothly until a small alarm flashed on her screen. Power loss in Sector B. Kayla quickly pulled up the panel. "Main doors might lock down in 10 minutes, she muttered. She opened the comm line. "This is systems support. I'm detecting a drop in power to Sector B, sending manual override now." She sent the command, hoping it would fix the issue. But nothing changed. She stood up. "I need to fix it directly," she told the senior operator, a bored man reading a news feed. He barely looked at her. "Fine, just don't be seen." Kayla grabbed her toolkit and slipped into the maintenance tunnel. The lights flickered and the metal walls hummed around her. She moved quickly, reaching the broken junction box. A few wires had shorted out. She replaced them, sealed the panel, and turned around to leave when she saw someone standing behind her. It was one of the Viraxi. He was taller than the others and wore a thin band over his head, with small lights blinking on the side. He looked curious, not afraid. Kayla froze, gripping her toolkit tightly. "I am Threx," he said in a soft voice. "You are the one who fixed the door?" Kayla looked away. "Yes, I was just leaving." "You are human?" he asked. She nodded. He tilted his head. "You're Energy design is efficient, elegant. No one calls it that, she replied, her voice dry. I do, Threx said. Kayla didn't know what to say. No one, not even her uncle, called her work elegant. She started to walk past him, eyes low. Please don't tell anyone you saw me. Threx looked at her, his silver eyes calm. Why would I hide something beautiful? Kayla froze in her steps. He wasn't talking about the machines. Threx did not move after his last words. His calm, silver eyes rested on Kayla, as if waiting for her to breathe again. She felt heat rise under her scarred cheek and quickly stepped past him. I only fix wires, she muttered, hurrying down the maintenance tunnel. Nothing beautiful about that. Threx followed at a respectful distance. Beauty is not only for eyes, he said, voice soft but clear. It is also for function. Your repair saved the welcome hall from a lockdown. I would like to learn how you did it. Kayla stopped at a ladder that led back to the control room. She looked up, at the ceiling hatch, then back at the tall Viraxi. You want to learn from me? Yes, he replied. Your colony engineers seem skilled, yet no one else noticed the failing junction. You did. Kayla chewed her lower lip. Nobody outside the lower domes ever asked for her help. If she said yes, she would have to be seen, truly seen, by others. That thought still made her stomach twist. But a small spark of pride flared beside her fear. Fine, she said at last, but we meet down here, in the service corridors. Less attention, Threx inclined his head. Agreed. The first lesson. Over the next 3 days, Kayla guided Threx through the hidden veins of the colony. Narrow shafts that hummed with power, rooms where coolant mist floated like pale ghosts, silent lift cages that carried cargo, not people. She showed him schematics on a battered hand screen, pointing with a grease-stained finger. This grid was built in 3 stages, she explained, tracing colored lines. Old Earth core, then colony expansion, then emergency upgrades after the solar flare last year. They never linked the safety relays right. That's why we keep losing power spikes. Threx listened, sometimes asking careful questions, sometimes simply watching her hands move. He never stared at her scars. He never spoke of her appearance at all. He spoke of circuits, of pressure tolerances, of how Viraxi ships use flowing crystal instead of copper wire. Kayla found herself talking more than she ever had, the words spilling out. She even slipped once and mentioned her secret mech. Threx's eyes lit with interest, but he did not press. Instead, he offered a quiet promise. If you wish, one day I will share how Viraxi adapt armor to living tissue. Perhaps it might help your project. Her heart skipped. No one had ever believed her dream real enough to improve. Trouble from above. News of Kayla's unseen guidance spread slowly. She did not know it, but the senior operator, who had signed the daily duty logs, noticed Threx's visits to the lower sectors. When asked why, the operator shrugged. Some shy kid keeps the lights on. Soon, Counselor Mara, chief of diplomatic protocol, demanded answers. Why was an alien diplomat wandering the underlevels with an unregistered technician? Security risk. Kayla was summoned to the upper city for the first time in years. She stood at the edge of a bright meeting chamber, hands behind her back, feeling every smudge on her coveralls. Sunlight poured through crystal windows, turning the marble floor into a pale mirror that showed her scar twice. Counselor Mara, tall and severe, spoke sharply. Explain what expertise you provide that the official engineering team cannot. Kayla's mouth went dry. Words tangled in her throat. Before she could speak, Threx stepped forward. He inclined his long neck politely. Counselor, he said, I requested Kayla's help. Her skill prevented a potential diplomatic incident. Her deep knowledge of your infrastructure is unmatched. I will submit a formal commendation if you wish. Mara blinked, surprised by the alien's defense. She turned to Kayla again, voice cooler now. "Is this true? You guided the repairs?" Kayla managed a nod. Quietly, she added, "I just know the old wiring best. My uncle taught me." A different counselor, an older man with soft eyes, leaned forward. "Kid, we need people who can keep this place alive. Would you accept a temporary promotion? Systems liaison between our staff and the Viraxi. For the rest of their visit? Promotion." The word felt heavy. She would have to sign her name on public logs, walk upper corridors, attend briefings, in front of every eye. Fear clawed again, but then she remembered the mech blueprint rolled under her bed, waiting for parts she couldn't afford. A liaison would earn credits. She lifted her chin. "Yes, sir, I will accept." Working side by side. The next morning, Kayla reported to the main engineering bay, clean uniform, badge with her full name, Kayla Soren, Liaison Tech. People glanced up, curious. Some whispered about the scarred girl who impressed an alien envoy. She kept her shoulders straight. Threx arrived carrying a silver data globe. Together they reviewed power flow predictions for the big cultural gala planned at week's end. Kayla proposed rerouting non-critical lighting to spare capacity. Threx overlaid Viraxi energy buffer math, smoothing out the peaks. Engineers gathered around, surprised at the clear synergy. One whispered, they finish each other's sentences, in 2 languages. Kayla half smiled. For once, the staring eyes did not feel sharp. They felt bright, like warm lamps rather than cold searchlights. A flash of darkness. That evening, as final tests began, every monitor in the bay blinked red. Power Grid Co. M. Promise. Sector Dome 3. Kayla's fingers flew. A data worm forced open safeguard relays. If it reached the fusion taps, half the colony would black out. "Malware," a senior engineer shouted. "Someone's hacking us through the gala lighting." Panic rippled. Kayla yanked out a fiber link and slid under the console, tracing the attack's path. She muttered numbers, patching code with one hand, pulling fuses with the other. Sparks bit her knuckles, but she did not stop. Threx kneeled beside her, holding a portable dampener disc. "Point me," he said. She barked coordinates. He slapped the disc against the primary bus. The red alarms froze, then faded to amber, then green. Silence fell over the bay. Slowly, applause rose. From humans, from Viraxi support staff, even from grim Counselor Mara, who had come to inspect. Kayla sat up, hair loose, face smudged. She realized everyone was looking at her, but not with pity or disgust, with respect. Threx offered his hand. She took it, steady for the first time. Kayla woke before the first shift bell. Moon-white light slipped through the service window of her small room, touching the rolled plans of her half-built mech. She stared at the blue lines and imagined the machine walking over red Ilaris sand. For once, the idea did not feel like a secret fantasy. It felt possible. The day before, she and Threx had stopped a serious power breach. Engineers she once avoided now greeted her in the corridor. Some even asked her opinion about coolant flow and relay timing. Kayla answered in short, clear sentences, amazed that people listened. Their eyes wandered to her cheek less often. Her scar was still there, but respect covered it like fresh paint on old steel. In the main engineering bay, Threx waited with a small silver box in his hands. When Kayla arrived, he bowed his long neck. "Good morning, Kayla Soren," he said. His tone held the gentle warmth of sunrise. She offered a shy smile. "Morning, Ambassador." Threx tapped the box. "I brought a gift. Inside is a Viraxi lens crystal. It bends light and also channels weak energy pulses. Very useful for vision systems." Kayla's eyes widened. "This could replace half the camera array on my mech. That is my hope." Threx said. He watched her carefully. You have given much to our mission. I wish to give in return. Kayla felt a strange flutter in her chest, part excitement, part fear. Kindness still startled her more than danger. She opened the box, allowing the crystal to catch the overhead lamps. Soft colors danced inside it, like rivers under ice. Nearby, Counselor Mara joined them, clipboard in hand. The gala begins in 2 days. We must finish the light bridge rehearsal by noon. Kayla straightened. Yes, Counselor. Threx and I will run the final diagnostic now. They stepped to a large holotable that displayed the colony square. Lines of blue indicated power paths for the planned floating light bridge, a key symbol of unity during the gala. Kayla reviewed each node, fingers gliding with new confidence. Threx mirrored her motions, adding Viraxi safety subroutines. Together, they closed gaps no one else had noticed. While they worked, a small group of young technicians gathered. They whispered about Kayla's quick logic and asked quiet questions. She explained patiently, feeling her voice grow steady. She even laughed once when a junior tech mixed up 2 cables and set off a gentle spark. An hour later, the final simulation showed green. The light bridge would hold. Cheers rose around the bay. Kayla caught herself beaming until she saw her reflection in a polished panel. The old fear hummed again. The scar, the memory of people turning away. Her shoulders dipped, Threx noticed. He waited until the others left, then spoke softly. In Viraxi culture, we tell our children, beauty is the pattern that stays, true under every test. You carry such a pattern, Kayla. She looked down. Most people here do not see it. Then their vision is limited, he replied. You design harmony from broken wires. You guide power like water through stone. Your face shows the storms you survived. That is beautiful. Kayla tried to laugh it off, but tears touched her eyes instead. No teacher, no friend, not even her uncle had ever said the word beautiful about her. The scarring had rewritten her self-image so deeply she forgot beauty could belong to skills, to courage, to simple kindness. She wiped her cheek quickly. Thank you, Threx. I don't know what to say. Say nothing, he answered. Just remember. First, steps into the upper plaza that afternoon, Mara asked Kayla to oversee the placement of 20 light projectors in the colony's central plaza. The square lay under a clear glass dome, open to sky and the gaze of hundreds of citizens. Kayla hesitated. Crowds still frightened her more than any power surge. But Threx walked beside her, carrying a tool case. Engineers rolled tall, pylons into place. Vendors prepared bright stalls for the gala. Children chased holographic birds between benches. Many turned curious eyes toward the young woman in technician white and the tall alien at her side. Kayla's heart pounded, yet she kept moving. She called out cable lengths, checked hover drones, tightened bolts. When a spool slipped and nearly crushed a worker's foot, Kayla lunged, wedged an iron rod under the reel, and saved him. Applause rippled through the square. A local news drone hovered near. The reporter spoke into a mic, excitement clear. Viewers, meet the hero behind yesterday's power save, Kayla Soren. Kayla froze as the drone's lens zoomed close. Her scar glinted in afternoon light. She waited for the usual uneasy shift in the crowd, but it never came. Faces around her showed plain gratitude. A child waved a small flag and shouted, "Thank you, Miss Kayla." She swallowed hard, then gave a short wave back. Echoes of the past. That evening, Kayla visited the lower domes to see her uncle. He sat in their old workshop, polishing a gear. When Kayla entered, he looked up and almost dropped it. "By the stars, kid, you're glowing," he said, half laughing. Kayla blushed. "It's just brighter lights up there." Her uncle set the gear aside. "No, it's you. I've watched you hide too long. Today, the plaza saw what I always saw. I'm proud of you." Kayla hugged him tight, smelling oil and home. For the first time, she realized the workshop felt small. The world outside felt larger, welcoming, and Wada showed him the Viraxi lens crystal. His eyes went wide. "Finish the mech, Kayla. You already walk taller. Soon you'll fly." A distant rumble late that night, Kayla stood on a service balcony looking at Ilaris's twin moons. She thought about Threx's words, the crowd's cheers, her uncle's pride. She let herself believe, truly believe, that she could be beautiful in her own way. A soft beep came from her wrist console. Long-range scanners picked up an unidentified fleet at the edge of the system. Code tag. Driel. Kayla's new courage did not fade, but it sharpened. Tomorrow she would bring the news to the council. If danger came, she would meet it, not in the shadows, but in the light. She closed her eyes, holding the lens crystal against her scarred cheek. For the first time in years, the future did not look dim. It looked bright, bright enough to share with everyone who had ever felt hidden. Morning light had barely touched the colony dome when alarms began to wail. Kayla was in the plaza, finishing the last projector test, when red banners flashed across every holoscreen. Unidentified ships inbound. High alert. Counselor Mara's voice followed, tight with worry. Engineering teams to emergency posts. All citizens to shelter sectors. Kayla's heart thumped. She opened her wrist console and saw the scan she spotted last night now confirmed. 12 drill raiders, sleek, dark craft shaped like hooked claws, slipped into Alaris orbit. They deployed jamming buoys that cut long-range comms. The Viraxi diplomatic cruiser, still docked at high anchor, blinked off the network. Threx arrived at a run, robes flowing. "Our ship cannot raise shields," he said. "The drill pulses block command links. If they fire, we are helpless." Kayla looked around. Citizens hurried toward shelter hatches. Children searched for parents. Markets closed their stalls. Fear spread like smoke. A senior engineer, Captain Ryu, clicked a portable radio that only worked inside the dome. "We need a plan now," he barked. "Those buoys must be disabled, but none of our shuttles can break the interference field." Kayla's mind raced. Her gaze fell on the equipment she knew best. The half-built mech hidden in the lower dome warehouse. Its legs were slow, but its core thruster, designed for short hops outside the colony, might reach low orbit if boosted. She spoke up, voice clear. "We could ride one of the drill craft instead of flying our own. Board it, cut its buoy link from inside. Their security will expect attacks from outside, not sabotage from the cockpit." Engineers stared. Captain Ryu frowned. That would mean breaching enemy hull plating, rerouting alien controls. "I can," Kayla said, surprising herself with her certainty. "I studied drill schematics during repair drills. I know their emergency override codes." Threx stepped forward. "I will go with her. Viraxi suits can handle their internal gravity fields." Mara arrived, eyes sharp. "You are both brave, but this is deadly. If you fail, the entire delegation is lost." Kayla met her gaze. "I spent my life hiding. You all made me see I don't have to. Let me prove it matters." Silence held for a beat. Mara exhaled. "Very well, but you'll need a fast way up." Kayla smiled. "I have one." Racing the clock in the lower domes, Kayla and Threx reached the dusty workshop. Her uncle waited, having wired the mech for a quick start after. Kayla's message pinged him. He stood beside the 6-meter frame, cobbled from cargo lifters, mining servos, and now gleaming with the Viraxi lens crystal at its heart. "Always thought this beast would walk the desert," her uncle said. "Didn't think its first step would be straight into space." Kayla hugged him. "Thank you for believing." They locked her into the cockpit, just a padded seat, and overhead harness. Threx clamped himself to an external rack, magnet boots secure. Power spooling, Kayla reported. Needle gauges swung, the fusion pebble warmed, the thruster cone glowed pale blue. Captain Ryu's voice crackled in her ear. Window in jamming field opens every 30 seconds. Launch when countdown hits 5. Kayla gripped the sticks. Numbers rolled. 10, 9, 8. She breathed in. Her scar tingled, but fear did not rule her. 5, 4, 3. Go! The thruster roared. The mech shot up a narrow blast chute, smashed through a thin skylight, and burst into Alaris's pink dawn sky. Acceleration pressed Kayla to her seat. Outside, Threx clung steady, protected by a thin energy veil from his suit. Clouds whipped past. Soon, the stars sharpened. Ahead loomed a drill raider, hull black as ink, lights red and pulsing. Kayla angled the mech's magnetic grapples. With a clang, they latched to the ship's underside. Momentum jolted. Alarms beeped. "Breach port here," Kayla said. Threx swung a plasma cutter. Metal hissed and curled away, revealing a narrow maintenance shaft. They slipped inside. Gravity shifted sideways. Drill vessels rotated artificial spin. Kayla's boots clicked to the deck. Dim, crimson lights revealed winding corridors. Not a guard in sight, the drill trusted their jamming more than patrols. She found an access panel, pried it open, and plugged in her data spike. Alien glyphs streamed past. Kayla typed override strings learned from stolen manuals. System denied. She exhaled. "Okay, drill, show me your secrets." She traced sublayers, found a dormant slot labeled Elder Key. Her eyes widened. She rewired the Viraxi lens crystal, slipping it against the slot. Improvised, risky. The crystal glowed, interpreting the drill frequency into light pulses. Code gates fell one by one. Access granted. She shut down the buoy mesh. Outside, jamming signals winked off like dying embers. Turning the tide Captain Ryu's voice cheered in her ear as comms reopened. "Kayla, we see the drop. Viraxi cruiser raising shields. Good work." But inside the raider, alarms finally blared. Drill footsteps clanged in the hall. Threx drew a compact Viraxi nullfield rod, spreading a curtain of blue haze in the corridor. When the first drill soldiers appeared, tall, armored, claws shiny, the haze slowed them like insects pushing through syrup. Kayla finished locking the ship's weapons offline, sealing the bridge doors. "Time to leave," she said. They raced back to the breach port, clipped lines to the mech, and kicked off. The frame's thruster reignited, carrying them clear just as the raider drifted powerless, a silent husk. Around them, colony defense fighters launched. With jamming gone, the odds flipped. Drill ships fell back, engines flickering. 2 were disabled by precision strikes. The rest jumped to dark space. Cheers filled every open channel. Kayla guided the mech into a gentle arc, descending toward the colony. The plaza crowd, once fearful, now roared with triumph as the patched together machine landed on its knees in a wash of dust. Kayla climbed out, helmet under her arm. Soot smeared her face. Reporters swarmed, but she looked only for one figure, her uncle, who stood crying and laughing at once. Threx joined her, bowing to the assembly. "Humans speak often of courage," he said to the cameras. "Today, I have witnessed its purest form." Kayla's cheeks burned, yet she did not hide. She raised the lens crystal to the sky, where sunlight split into bright colors above the cheering crowd. A pink dawn washed over the colony dome the day after the battle. From every balcony, citizens cheered Kayla's name, waving banners made overnight. But victory songs could not drown the quiet warnings coming from orbital scans. 3 Drill troop carriers had dropped small landing pods during the retreat. Those Pods were now hidden somewhere under the city plates. Counselor Mara called an emergency meeting in the command center. Kayla arrived with Threx and her uncle. Screens showed red dots blinking in service levels D12 through D15, the one darkest storage decks beneath the lower domes. If the Drill soldiers reached the power core, they could blow the reactor and erase the colony in one pulse. Security teams know the main corridors, Mara said, face pale, but the Drill chose the old ventilation mazes, too narrow for armored patrols. All eyes turned to Kayla. Everyone knew who walked those mazes better than anyone alive. She straightened. I built half my mech parts down there. I can lead a small unit through the vents and cut the Drill path before they reach the core. Captain Ryu frowned. It will be close quarters fighting. No heavy weapons fit. Kayla thought of her mech, still scorched from yesterday. Its full frame was too big for the tunnels, but its torso module, with the lens crystal guidance, could detach into a light exosuit. Slim, fast, powered by the same fusion pebble. I'll wear the core harness, she said. Enough. Strength to lift beams, maybe block Drill blades. Threx placed a long-fingered hand on her shoulder. I will join. My null field rod can shield us in tight corners. Ryu nodded slowly. 3 techs, 2 colony rangers, 1 Varaxi guard. Silent comms only. Go. Into the underbelly. Within an hour, Kayla stood at a grated hatch in level D12. She wore the stripped-down mech harness, joint plates over arms and legs, curved power pack on her back, and visor goggles linked to the lens crystal. Her uncle checked every clamp with careful hands, then stepped away, hiding worry behind a grin. Come back safe, kid, he whispered. Kayla smiled. I will. She led the team into the vent shaft. Dim emergency lights flickered. Pipes hissed above their heads. Dust motes floated in the stale air. They moved single file, boots soft on metal mesh. Kayla's wrist scanner pinged faint Drill signals ahead, 3 life sign clusters marching toward the reactor ring. At junction Delta 6 they found the first sign of entry. A cut panel, edges melted by Drill acid. Kayla knelt, felt the heat. Less than 10 minutes old, she said. The ranger behind her shook his head. They're fast. Then we're faster, Kayla replied, voice firm. First clash, they reached a cross-tunnel lit by a single yellow lamp. 3 Drill soldiers emerged, tall, armored, faces hidden by curved masks. Each carried a disc blade that hummed with violet energy. Kayla stepped forward. Her exosuit servos whirred. She raised her hands, palms open. Stop, she called. This colony is protected. You have no path. The Drill leader hissed in its own language and lunged. Kayla sidestepped, boosted by suit servos. She caught the soldier's arm, metal against metal, and twisted. The blade struck the tunnel wall instead of her chest, sparking harmlessly. Threx swung his null field rod. A sheet of blue shimmered out, slowing the other 2 Drill as if thick honey filled the air. The rangers fired stun darts, dropping. Both attackers. Kayla locked a magnetic cuff around the first soldier's wrist. Her visor read his suit codes. An officer. She pressed a quick override learned from captured ship data. The soldier's mask powered down, leaving him unconscious. Clear, she said, breathing hard. Her scarred cheek glowed with sweat, but her eyes were steady. Race against the timer scans showed the second Drill group already in corridor G4, only 2 sections from the reactor vault. That path ran above an old waste shaft, one Kayla knew well because she once scavenged copper there. We can cut beneath them and come up through the floor grates, she said, drawing a rough map on her visor. Fast drop, short climb. The team descended rusted rungs into the shaft. Smell of metal and age filled their lungs. Kayla's suit light cut the darkness. At the bottom, she found the maintenance catwalk she remembered. Half broken, but strong enough. Threx steadied her as she attached a grappling cord to the grate ceiling. Above, drill soldiers marched, footfalls metallic. Kayla whispered a countdown. 3, 2, 1. She triggered the charges she had planted along the catwalk joints. A muted pop. The grate floor above them sagged, then collapsed. Drill fell through with surprised cries. Kayla's suit boost shot her upward. She grabbed the edge of the reactor corridor, hauled herself over, and faced the stunned Drill before they could stand. A ranger slid her a compact stun baton. Kayla caught it, flicked it on, and swung in one fluid motion. Blue arcs cracked. 3, Drill dropped. The last soldier reached for a blade. Kayla blocked with her armored forearm and drove her shoulder into his chest plate. Suit, servos, amplified the shove. The Drill crashed into a pipe, unconscious. Silence returned, broken only by the soft hum of the reactor ring nearby. Securing the core, Kayla tapped her comm. "Captain, threat neutralized. Reactor secure." Cheers burst over the channel. Ryu's voice replied, "Emergency lifted. Dockmaster counts 0 active hostiles. You did it, Kayla." She exhaled a long breath she didn't know she was holding. Threx placed a hand on her helmet. In Varaxi tales, warriors earn soul names after brave deeds. From this day, I call you Kayla Brightheart. Kayla removed her helmet. Sweat matted her hair, scars dark against. Flushed skin, but her smile shone like dawn. "I will try to live up to that name," she said. Back to the light hours later, the team emerged into the plaza again, greeted by louder cheers than the day before. Children threw paper flower petals, musicians played rising chords. Kayla's uncle pushed through the crowd and wrapped her in a quick hug before reporters could rush in. Counselor Mara stepped onto a hollow stage. She spoke into a global broadcom. "A St. Mick. Citizens of Ilaris. Yesterday, Kayla Soren saved our skies. Today, she protected our heart. Let us honor her courage, proof that true beauty lies in brave action." Kayla's face blushed crimson, but she did not shrink away. She felt the weight of her new soul name, of every grateful eye, and of the future she could now imagine. Kayla woke in the medical dome, arm in a white brace. Bright lamps stung her eyes, but the hum of monitors meant she was alive. A nurse smiled. Shoulders cracked. "Nothing worse. Rest, hero." Kayla's first thought was the reactor. "Anyone hurt?" "Only bruises, thanks to you." Outside, a roar rose. The nurse touched a wall screen. Every channel replayed Kayla's triumph, her soot-streaked face, the lens crystal raised. Headlines scrolled. "Outer Colony Hero Kayla Soren." The feed reached Earth, Mars, even the icy moons. Kayla stared. "They're all watching." "They need hope," the nurse said. Crowds filled the plaza below, waving signs. "Thank you, Kayla." Many wore gold paint where her scar would be. Tears blurred Kayla's sight. The mark she once hid had become a banner. Ambassador Threx entered, holding a small projector sphere. "Brightheart," he greeted. "News awaits. Good or bad?" "Both. Our cruiser is ready but will not leave while Drill remain, and every system now plays this." He activated the sphere. The moment Kayla stepped from her burning mech, smile fierce beneath smoke. Multiple cameras stitched it into a short, stirring film. Kayla flushed. "People forget quickly." "They already sing your name," Threx said. "Worlds ask for your mech plans so they can stand tall, too." Kayla glanced at her bandaged arm. Yesterday that machine was scrap. Today it was a symbol. The thought felt heavy, but right. Counselor Mara arrived, rare warmth in her eyes. She pinned a silver Unity star on Kayla's gown. "By unanimous vote," she said, "you are our colony's first civilian commander. We need your designs for new defenses." Kayla's voice shook. "I accept. Tomorrow, stand with us at the vigil. show everyone the face of courage. Old fear fluttered, thousands of eyes, but a stronger flame answered, I will stand. Visitors and voices. While Kayla rested, a steady stream of visitors passed her door. Ranger Silva, arm in sling, laid a small cog on her table. From your mech's knee joint, he said. It carried all of us. Keep a piece. 2 first-year tech students brought a hand-drawn coolant map, ideas sparked by her plaza lesson. Kayla praised their work. Their smiles shone brighter than any medal. Reporters wanted a live interview. She was too weak, but recorded a short clip. I am only one voice. Every helper, every guard, every child who stayed calm is part of this victory. We stand together. The message spread with the tag Doc Brightheart. Governor Liu of Mars beamed in by hollow. Courage travels faster than light today, Miss Soren, she said. The red planet stands with Alaris. Engineers across the colony formed volunteer groups, doubling. Shield arrays, printing medical bots, using Kayla's schematics, which she had uploaded free for all. Captain Ryu visited near dusk. Fancy title, he joked. Commander means long hours and fewer naps. Kayla laughed, her first pain-free laugh since waking. I never liked naps anyway. They outlined tasks, mapping drill escape routes, upgrading vent sensors, building a rapid response mech squad. Ryu promised veterans as trainers. Kayla promised to stay alive long enough to finish the plan. Standing again. At twilight turned the dome glass purple. The nurse returned with a slim exoskeleton brace so Kayla could stand without tearing her shoulder. Awkward yet steady, it locked around her torso and legs. She rose slowly. Painful, but possible. She walked to the window. Floodlights painted the plaza stage. Workers hung banners of blue and white. Tomorrow candles would fill the square in. Memory of lives nearly lost. Beyond the dome, the desert glowed under twin moons. A last visitor slipped in. Her uncle, eyes damp with pride. He set a compact console on her lap. Clips played, miners in dusty gear, teachers in bright robes, children tracing small gold scars. On their cheeks, all saying, "Thank you, Kayla." Dawn painted faint gold across the colony dome as Kayla stepped onto the plaza stage. A light breeze slipped through air vents carrying the smell of fresh flowers laid out for the vigil. Her arm brace was gone. Only thin strips of medical tape crossed her shoulder. The scar on her cheek, once a reason to hide, caught the sun, like a badge of bright metal. Citizens filled every tier, miners in dusty coats, scientists in white, children on parents' shoulders. Holoscreens hovered overhead, so even the farms outside the city could watch. Quiet fell, deeper than any. Silence Kayla had known when Counselor Mara raised a hand. "Friends," Mara said, her voice steady. "Last week we feared darkness. Today we greet the light. We gather to honor the bravery that saved us." She turned, eyes soft. "Commander Kayla Soren, Brightheart, please speak." Kayla felt her pulse drum in her ears, but she walked to the podium. The microphone, stem folded near her mouth. She took one long breath, remembering the girl who once hurried through back tunnels so no one would stare. "My people," she began, keeping her words slow and clear. "I thought I was ugly. A scar showed me every time I looked in a mirror. So I hid. But hiding can keep more than faces in shadow. It can keep talents, dreams, and the power to help others." On the front row, her uncle watched, hands clasped at his heart. Behind him, Threx stood tall beside other Viraxi diplomats. Kayla's gaze met his, and heat of steady friendship filled her chest. "An alien visitor told me beauty is the pattern that stays true under every test," she continued. "You all faced a great test. You stood together, engineers, rangers, cooks, cleaners, children, each a light when the night tried to fall. If a scar can shine, every voice here can blaze. She lifted a small metal piece. The gear Ranger Silva had given her, and held it high. The sunlight flashed across its teeth. This is from the mech that pulled Dreel down. It is also from broken cargo lifts, old mining bots, and scraps most people tossed away. Alone, each part looked useless. Together, they saved a world. So do we. Applause rose, a swelling tide that shook the dome floor. Kayla waited until the sound hushed again. Today, she said, I share every design I hold. The mech frame, the lens crystal bridge, the vent sensor grid. Copy them, change them, build better. I give them to Alaris, to Earth, to every colony that needs hope. She paused, throat tight with emotion. Because hope grows when we pass it on. She lowered the gear, hands gentle, and smiled, a full, unguarded smile. And to any boy or girl who believes a scar, or a mark, or a harsh word makes them less, remember this moment. You are not less. You are beautiful already. The plaza erupted. Cheers, whistles, the ring of handheld bells. Firefly drones opened. Cargo pods, releasing hundreds of tiny ribbon gliders that shimmered through the air. Some gliders bore the gold scar symbol children had painted on their cheeks. Mara returned, eyes wet. She spoke into the microphone. Kayla Soren, by will of the Council and the voice of our people, we name you Chief Architect of Hybrid Defense and Exploration for Alaris. May your patterns guide us for many years. Threx stepped forward, carrying a slender rod of living metal. He bowed and offered it with both hands. A tool of Viraxi star rights, he said. It shapes light into matter. Let it turn your next dream real. Kayla accepted. The rod warmed in her fingers as if greeting her. She looked up at Threx. Thank you for seeing me before I saw myself. Threx's silver eyes glimmered. We only revealed what was already bright. Behind them, musicians struck the opening chord of the Unity hymn. Holographic petals poured from ceiling vents, drifting like soft rain. As the crowd sang, Kayla caught sight of far-off screens. Earth cityscapes lighting monuments gold, dome settlements on Mars playing her speech, children on Europa tracing stars in classroom air. The song echoed across worlds. Moments later, Captain Ryu hurried to the stage with breaking news. Outer Rim colonies just voted to form a joint shield network based on your lens crystal arrays, he whispered. They're calling it Project Brightheart. Kayla's mouth parted in astonishment. She thought of Knight's soldering. Wires alone, convinced no one would ever care. Now those wires would circle planets. She faced the audience once more. Our future begins today, she declared, not with fear of the Dreel, but with faith in each other. Let us explore, create, and protect, not as isolated domes, but as one shining line across the sky. She pointed upward through the glass. Roof. Twin moons glowed above, and beyond them the first white spark of a Viraxi escort cruiser taking its guard position. Candles flicked a light in every hand. Soft flames mirrored in thousands of eyes. The hymn swelled. Kayla felt the sound in her bones. She whispered to herself, not into the mic, I'm beautiful. The words no longer tasted strange. They rang true. Threx leaned closer, voice gentle yet clear. You are beautiful, he affirmed, and for the first time she accepted the words without doubt. As night settled, holo satellites beamed the vigil to the stars. Somewhere in distant shadow, Dreel commanders watched and frowned, seeing not weakness, but a wall of unity brighter than any shield. They would think twice before returning. Kayla stood at the podium until the last note faded, until candles dimmed and families drifted home. She knew dawn would bring long work, layouts to draft, teams to train, children to mentor. She welcomed the wait.